On the very first day of my rebirth, I immediately quit my job, a dream position with a lucrative salary and weekends off. Instead, I went straight to a shady loan shark to borrow $10 million. In my past life, my boyfriend's childhood best friend used a system to steal my hard-earned paychecks. She took my money and traveled the world with my boyfriend. She even went live online to donate money to retirement homes, praised by netizens everywhere as a literal angel. Meanwhile, the $1 million I had saved up for my mother's life-saving surgery after working overnight shifts was wiped out in an instant. I begged her to return my money. Yet she put on a pathetic, innocent act. Have some self-respect. If you want money, earn it yourself. Why are you forcing me to hand over mine? My boyfriend sneered at me. Why can't you learn from her and be an independent woman? Would you die if you weren't so greedy? The very next day, rumors framing me as a gold digger blew up across the internet, which led my mom to die of a heart attack. My boyfriend and his childhood friend took my $1 million, bought a luxury sports car, and went on a joyride without a care in the world. As for me, I was smuggled into an offshore scam compound, turned into a cash-generating puppet, and ultimately died after having my organs harvested. This time around, I'd love to see how his childhood friend travels the world while carrying a massive, mountain-high debt. Whoa, Emily, did you seriously win the lottery? That's crazy. Don't forget about us broke co-workers now that you're rich. In the office, everyone surrounded my boyfriend's childhood friend, Emily Rose, who was wearing a smug, fake smile. She held her resignation letter arrogantly in front of the department manager. I'm done working here. This familiar scene sent a shiver down my spine. The vivid memories of my organs being harvested in my past life were still fresh in my mind. Suddenly, a robotic voice rang out in my head. Ding. The contract transfer system has been activated. You may designate a target to transfer all of your contractual relationships. My heart tightened violently. In my past life, Emily used a similar system to turn every single penny of my hard-earned wages into hers, all while claiming she won the lottery. Now I finally had a weapon to fight back. I pushed through the crowd, walked over to Emily, and clapped my hands. Nice. I quit too. Everyone froze, their eyes instantly fixing on me. The smug look on Emily's face froze, and she looked at me in disbelief. Beside me, my boyfriend Leo Duncan frowned and grabbed my arm tightly. Charlotte, are you crazy? Emily got extremely anxious, grabbing my hand. Charlotte, I know you envy me, but you just don't have my luck. Without a job, how are you going to survive? Exactly. Can't you learn from Emily and show some ambition? Stop always thinking about quitting and expecting me to support you. I'm under a lot of pressure too. Listening to them say the same things as in my past life, I just wanted to laugh. I looked at Leo with a mocking smile. Leo, you make $3,000 a month. Who can you even afford to support? Hey. Leo was left speechless, his face turning ashen. Seeing this, Emily grabbed Leo's arm and adopted a preachy tone. Come on, Charlotte. You don't have a degree or a strong background. Leo pulled a lot of strings to help you get this job. Don't be so ungrateful. As soon as she finished, the co-workers around us immediately began whispering. So Leo got her this job? No wonder she's always kissing up to him. Tiffy. She has no skills herself, yet she's trying to copy a rich girl and quit without a backup plan. What a joke. While Leo did recommend the job to me, I passed all 3 rounds of high-pressure interviews through my own effort. In my past life, I was gaslit by them like this into becoming insecure and weak, turning into a tool for them to take whatever they wanted from me. What does my quitting have to do with you anyway? Is the money I make at work deposited directly into your bank account or something? I sneered, staring straight at Emily. Her pupils shrank violently, her face turned pale, and she subconsciously took half a step back. Seeing this, Leo immediately shielded Emily and yelled at me. Charlotte, Emily was just trying to give you good advice. What's with your attitude? I think you're just lazy. You just don't want to work hard. If you keep acting like this, forget about us getting married. Fine. Let's just break up then. Leo stared at me shocked. I, however, didn't bother wasting any more words on them and walked straight back to my desk. I opened my computer, sent my resignation letter, and walked toward the door without looking back. Charlotte, if you walk out that door today, we're really over. Leo's furious voice shouted behind me. Emily followed up with a shrill cry. Charlotte, you're going to regret this. Without Leo, you're nothing. I didn't slow my pace, only sneering inwardly. I hope the two of them can still be this arrogant at the end of this game. Leaving the office, I hailed a cab and headed straight to the shadiest loan shark operation in the city. I'm here to borrow $10 million. The entire room went dead silent. Everyone stared at me as if I were a lunatic. A man with a noticeable scar across his face said, Little girl, our rates are above 30%, with compound interest, too. If you can't pay it back, you'll have to settle the debt with something else. His eyes roamed over me without the slightest restraint, his meaning crystal clear. I know. Since I had the guts to come here, I can afford to pay it back. Bring out the contract. My completely calm demeanor brought a flash of surprise to Scarface's eyes. He waved his hand, signaling his men to bring over the contract and a pen. Fine. You've got nerve. I'd love to see how you plan on paying this back. I took the contract and flipped straight to the signature line on the last page. The moment my pen hit the paper, I thought silently to myself. System, transfer this debt contract. Target, Emily. An imperceptible flash of light flickered across the contract. The name I signed, Charlotte Brown, instantly morphed into Emily Rose. Scarface picked up the contract, looked at the signature on it, and nodded with satisfaction. All right. The money will be in your account within the hour. Stepping out of the loan shark's office, I immediately used my phone to contact the top cardiac surgeon in the country. In my past life, my mother's illness became my greatest regret and deepest pain. In this life, I would never let that tragedy repeat itself. Right after I hung up, my phone buzzed with a notification for the bank deposit. Looking at the long string of zeros, I didn't hesitate for a second and turned straight into a dealership. Half an hour later, I drove out in a brand new car and headed straight for the most expensive shopping mall in the city. I began a wild spending spree, living a lavish lifestyle I wouldn't even have dared to dream of in my past life. Meanwhile, far away on the sunny beaches of Mantica, Emily was lying comfortably on a lounge chair. Babe, do you think that idiot Charlotte actually quit? She was just talking tough that day. If she quits, how is she gonna pay for her mom's medical bills? Leo snorted. Her? She was born to suffer. There's no way she quit. She deserves to be our personal cash cow. Emily opened her mobile banking app, wanting to check how much overtime pay I had contributed to her today. However, no matter how many times she refreshed the app, her balance didn't change. Huh? What's going on? Why hasn't the money hit my account? Leo leaned over to take a look. It's probably just delayed. What's the rush? Emily frowned as a bad feeling washed over her. They had always spent money recklessly, completely confident that they had me as an endless supply of cash. After waiting a few more hours, the money still hadn't arrived. Emily finally panicked and called our ex-boss, Mr. Thomas, back home. On the other end of the line, Mr. Thomas sounded thoroughly annoyed. Emily, didn't you win the lottery? Why are you calling me? Sir, I'm not asking about that. I wanted to ask about Charlotte. Charlotte? She quit right after you did. He snapped before abruptly hanging up. Emily and Leo stood frozen in place, as if struck by lightning. Half a month later, I didn't expect to see Leo and Emily at the entrance of my gated community. Both of them looked completely haggard. Leo grabbed my wrist, squeezing so hard it felt like he was trying to crush my bones. Charlotte, you be asterisk teach. How dare you quit? You're coming back with me right now to apologize to Mr. Thomas and get your job back. Do you hear me? I looked at him coldly. Leo, who gave you the right to order me around? By now, neighbors and passers-by were drawn to the commotion, stopping to watch. Seeing the crowd gather, Leo roared at the onlookers. Everyone, come look at this. This woman spent all my money, found herself a rich sugar daddy, and now she's dumping me. I worked my ass off to buy her a car and a house, and she turns around and drops me like trash. My hard-earned savings were all squandered by her. The surrounding crowd started whispering, their eyes filled with disdain. She looked so quiet and polite. Who knew she was that kind of person? Seriously, this poor guy. I laughed out of sheer frustration. Your money? Fine. Let's show everyone the transaction records of everything you've ever sent me since we started dating. As I spoke, I pulled my phone out of my bag. Leo's face instantly changed. Of course he didn't dare let me show them. All the money he had ever sent me added up to less than $1,000. Seeing that I was about to unlock my phone, he snatched it out of my hand and slammed it brutally onto the ground. ASL*T like you definitely has disgusting, filthy chat logs with other men on that phone. Smashing it is getting off easy. Looking at my phone, broken into 2 pieces on the pavement, my chest heaved with anger. During those few seconds I hesitated. The surrounding crowd had already taken my silence as a sign of guilt. Look at her dressed all nice. It turns out she's just a gold digger. She's got a great body though. Wonder how much it costs to sleep with her. Shameless **re. Emily walked over to my side, smug and arrogant. Charlotte, stop struggling. You can't beat us. If you don't want to be called a whore, be a good girl and get back to work. Otherwise, we have plenty of ways to make your life a living hell. I let out a light laugh. What era are you living in, trying to use SL*T shaming to force me to bow down? I turned my head toward the ones hurling the nastiest insults a moment ago. A bunch of gullible idiots believing whatever you hear. Keep spreading rumors about me and see if I don't sue you. As for you and Leo, my biggest regret in life is ever meeting you 2 scumbags. With that, I swung my arm and landed a hard slap across Emily's face. Leo rushed forward to protect Emily. Just as he was about to berate me, I raised my hand and slapped him right across his face too. Both of them stared at me in disbelief. You be *TC. Are you insane? How dare you hit us? Furious, Leo rolled up his sleeves, swinging his fist as he charged at me. Stop. Right then, several burly men pushed through the crowd, walking straight toward us. Leading them was none other than Scarface from the Loan Shark Company. Ah, Charlotte, these guys are here for you, aren't they? They look like trouble. What sleazy thing did you do to have people coming to seek revenge? Emily's eyes were full of gloating malice, dying to see me suffer right then and there. Leo looked at me with smug satisfaction as well. If you apologize to us and promise to go back to work quietly, we might consider helping you out. I didn't answer and simply looked at them with pity in my eyes. Just as they were growing impatient and about to lay a hand on me, Scarface stepped up and stood right in front of Emily. You're looking for Charlotte, right? She's Charlotte. Emily excitedly pointed at me to identify me to Scarface, but he raised his hand and slapped her hard across the face. I'm looking for you. Emily rose. Scarface pulled out a piece of paper and unfolded it right in front of Emily's face. B*TC. You borrowed $10 million from me earlier, and you're half a month overdue without paying a cent back. With compound interest, it's already rolled up to $20 million. You're paying me back today or else. $20 million? Emily's eyes widened, and she let out a shrill scream. When did I ever borrow money from you? It's written in black and white, and you still want to deny it? If I don't teach you a lesson, you'll really think we're running a charity. She was answered with a flurry of heavy punches. Seeing this, Leo tried to pull those men off her, but to his surprise, they started beating him up too. You're her boyfriend, right? Let me tell you, if she can't pay up, you're not getting away either. Boy, get $20 million ready for your girlfriend, or I'll make life a living hell for both of you. With that, he waved his hand, ordering his henchmen to drag Emily and shove her into the car. In the final second before being thrown inside, Emily gripped the car door tightly, hurling a hysterical accusation at me. Charlotte, what on earth did you do to me? The heavy steel door of the underground warehouse slammed shut with a deafening clang that rattled the dust from the ceiling rafters. Emily was thrown onto a rusted folding chair, her hands tied behind her back, with coarse hemp rope that bit into her wrists. Across from her, Leo sat, sprawled on the damp concrete floor, clutching his swollen jaw where Scarface's knuckle duster had split his lip wide open. Check her accounts, Scarface ordered, exhaling a thick cloud of cigar smoke into the dim halogen light. Every single bank card, mobile wallets, stock, portfolios. If she's hiding a dime, break a finger for every 1,000. One of the enforcers snatched Emily's handbag, dumped its contents onto a metal oil drum, and hooked her phone to a mobile forensic reader. No. Wait. Emily shrieked, thrashing against her restraints. This is a mistake. Look at the signature. I never went to your office. Charlotte Brown did this. She set me up. Scarface stepped forward, resting a heavy leather boot on the edge of her chair, leaning down until his scarred cheek was inches from hers. Little girl, we don't care about your catfights. We took high-definition biometric scans of the contract. The thumbprint in red ink matches your government ID. The electronic signature verification code came from your private security token. In the eyes of the law, and more importantly, in the eyes of my boss, you owe $20 million. Emily's breath hitched. In her mind, she screamed frantically at her own internal interface system. Drain Charlotte's accounts. Steal her money right now. Transfer $20 million into my balance. A cold, mechanical prompt flashed in her retina, visible only to her. System alert. Target Charlotte Brown possesses 0 employment contracts and 0 taxable corporate income. Host has no active parasitic link. Available. Harvestable balance, $0. Warning. Host has incurred severe third-party contractual liability. System. Cannot manipulate non-wage legal debt instruments. Current debt. $20,450,000. 00. Accumulating compound interest at 3.2% daily. No. Emily wailed, tears carving dirty tracks through her heavy makeup. She has money. She drove off in a luxury car. She bought $10 million worth of goods. Take that. We checked, the technician at the laptop grunted, turning the screen toward Scarface. The car and the shopping purchases were made with cash drafts issued from an offshore holding escrow. Legally, the funds cleared through a blind trust. But the promissory note for the original capital loan? Registered entirely under Emily Rose, secured by her domestic assets and her cosigner. Scarface's eyes shifted slowly toward Leo, who was shivering against the wall, like a wet dog. Cosigner? Leo stammered, his eyes bulging with terror. What cosigner? I never signed anything. Scarface pulled a carbon copy from his breast pocket and tossed it onto Leo's chest. Section 8, Clause B. The borrower's designated romantic partner and primary beneficiary assumes joint and several liability in the event of default. You live together. You shared bank accounts. You claimed her as your dependent on your tax filings last year to get a rebate, didn't you, boy? Leo's pupils dilated in sheer horror. He looked at the document, then looked at Emily with a look of pure, unadulterated venom. You bitch. Leo roared, lunging forward on his knees despite the pain in his ribs. You told me you won the lottery. You told me we were set for life. You dragged me into this. Shut up. Emily screamed back, spitting blood onto the concrete. You were happy enough to spend her money when we were in Mantica. You drank champagne every night on her dime. Now you want to act innocent. Scarface chuckled, a dry, grating sound that cut through their screaming like a rusty blade. How touching, Scarface said, raising his hand. Two enforcers stepped forward with sledgehammers. Let's start with the boy's car. Then his parents' house in the suburbs. If we don't see 5 million by midnight, we start cutting off pieces that don't grow back. While the screams echoed in the industrial docks across town, I sat in the serene, sunlit consultation suite of St. Jude's Cardiovascular Pavilion. Dr. Kenneth Wright, the premier thoracic surgeon in the country, adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses and smiled across the mahogany desk. Miss Brown, the full surgical deposit of $500,000 has cleared. We've secured an artificial heart-lung bypass machine from Germany, and your mother has been moved to our private penthouse recovery suite. Thank you, doctor, I said, feeling a warm, unshakable weight lift from my chest. In my past life, this was the exact room where I had knelt on the cold linoleum floor, clutching the doctor's coat, begging for 48 hours to raise the money while my mother's monitor slowly flattened into a continuous, deafening tone. Now my mother was resting comfortably under the care of 3 private nurses, her vitals stable, her surgery scheduled for tomorrow morning. I stepped out of the hospital lobby and walked toward the mobile phone flagship store across the boulevard. I bought the latest titanium frame flagship phone, slotted in a new encrypted SIM card, and downloaded my banking and cloud apps. The moment I connected to the network, 74 missed calls and over 200 frantic text messages flooded my notification bar. Every single one was from Leo. I scrolled through them with a cold, amused detachment. Charlotte, please pick up. It's a misunderstanding. Emily is insane. She forged my signature. They're at my parents' house right now. Charlotte, I love you. I was blind. Emily manipulated me with some kind of black magic. I know you have. The 10 million. Pay off the loan sharks and I swear I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I'll marry you tomorrow. I let out a soft, sharp laugh that drew glances from passing shoppers. Marry me? In my past life, when I begged him for $5,000 from my own stolen savings to buy my mother's post-op medication, he had looked at me with disgust and said, why should I waste our wedding fund on an old dying woman? Learn to be independent, Charlotte. My thumb danced across the screen. I unblocked his number and dialed. The call was answered before the first ring even finished. Charlotte. Charlotte, thank God. Leo's voice was hysterical, punctuated by the sound of sirens and heavy banging in the background. Where are you? You have to help me. Scarface's men are taking my father's pension fund. They seized my sedan. They said if they don't get 5 million by midnight, they're going to break my kneecaps. Leo, I said, my voice smooth, calm, and laced with theatrical concern. How could this happen? I thought Emily won the lottery. She lied. She's a thief. She borrowed money from the mob under our names. Leo wept, coughing violently. Charlotte, you took the 10 million from the bank, right? The loan sharks said the money was wired out. Bring it back. Save me. I'm your boyfriend. I want to save you, Leo, I murmured softly, stepping into the quiet alley behind the shopping center. I really do. But all that money is tied up in a high-yield commercial investment bond. I can't liquidate it without signing a secondary guarantee contract. Leo grabbed onto the bait like a drowning man clutching an anchor. What contract? Send it to me. I'll sign whatever you want as long as the money comes out. Ding. The contract transfer system has detected a willing counterparty for secondary liability assignment. Contract template selected. High-risk sovereign debt and commercial indemnity. Bond principal, $15 million. Default penalty, total asset seizure and uncapped civil restitution. Designate target. Leo Duncan? I smiled, my eyes gleaming with pure, venomous satisfaction. Designate target. Leo Duncan. Leo, I said into the phone, my voice sweet as poison honey. I'm sending an electronic authorization link to your phone right now. Sign it with your digital signature. Once it clears, the funds will unlock. I'm signing it. I'm signing it right now. Through the receiver, I heard the rapid, frantic clicking of his screen, followed by a triumphant gasp. It's done. Charlotte, it says processing authorization. How long until the 5 million hits my account? Ing. Contract successfully transferred. Target Leo Duncan is now the sole primary debtor for the $15 million sovereign indemnity bond. Interest. Accumulation initiated. Leo, I said, my voice dropping every trace of warmth, turning into ice. Yeah, babe. Check the debtor name on the top line of that contract. A brief silence hung on the line. Then the sound of hurried breathing, followed by a blood-curdling, unhinged shriek that tore through the speaker. What is this? Why does it say I owe $35 million total? Charlotte, what did you do? I gave you what you always wanted, Leo, I whispered. A life where you never have to depend on my hard work again. I hung up, permanently blacklisted his IMEI number, and tossed the disposable coffee cup into the recycling bin. By nightfall, Emily had reached the pinnacle of desperation. After being released on a 12-hour grace period by Scarface, who kept her passport, her jewelry, and her left pinky finger in a splint as collateral, she ran straight to an internet cafe in the slums. She couldn't steal my wages. She couldn't access bank loans. But she still had her social media account with 300,000 followers, built on the fake persona of a charitable, wealthy young angel. With trembling, bruised hands, she set up the camera, applied thick layers of powder to make herself look mortally ill, and hit go live. Within 3 minutes, 50,000 viewers flooded the chat room. Everyone, please help me, Emily sobbed, clutching her bruised chest, tears streaming down her pale cheeks in high definition. I'm being persecuted by my former coworker, Charlotte Brown. The comment section exploded with fire emojis and question marks. User 8823. Isn't this the angel who donated to the elderly care homes last month? What happened? Dark Knight _99. Charlotte Brown? Who is that? Tell us. Emily, we'll expose her. Charlotte was jealous of my lottery winnings. Emily wept, coughing theatrically into a tissue. She quit her job, stole my identity, and used forged documents to borrow $20 million from dangerous underworld gangs under my name. Now loan sharks are hunting my family. My boyfriend Leo was beaten half to death. They broke my finger. She held up her splinted hand to the lens, sobbing uncontrollably. She's hiding at St. Jude's Hospital right now, living in luxury suites while my family is on the verge of suicide. If anyone is near the hospital, please go. Demand justice for me. Force her to return my life. The chat room turned into a raging torrent of righteous indignation. Justice warrior, a gold-digging thief, stealing from an angel. City vigilante. I'm 10 minutes from St. Jude's. I'm going there right now with my streaming crew. Let's hunt this bitch down. Real News Daily. Forwarding this to the Municipal Police Bureau. Expose the parasite. Watching the viewer count skyrocket past 200,000, a hideous, triumphant sneer crept across Emily's face behind her tissue. Charlotte, Emily thought, her teeth grinding in manic glee. You think you're smart. The internet will tear you apart just like in our last life. Your mother will die of shame, and the mob will force you to pay every cent. Suddenly, the screen of the livestream flickered. A massive, multi-tiered superchat notification, the highest tier possible, requiring a $5,000 platform fee, pinned itself to the very top of the broadcast, glowing in radiant gold lettering. Verified user, Charlotte_official. The chat room paused for a fraction of a second. Then a high-definition video link was forcefully pushed through the pinned comment, overriding the stream's primary display via an administrative legal copyright claim. Good evening, Emily. My voice echoed through the stream, clear, resonant, and ice-cold. Since you want to talk about stolen money in front of 200,000 people, let's look at the bank statements. The screen split in two. On the left side, Emily's pale, petrified face beneath the cafe lights. On the right side, a high-speed, synchronized presentation of verified financial records, stamped with the official watermark of the State Banking Commission and the Cyber Crimes Investigation Bureau. Exhibit A, I stated calmly as the documents scrolled across the screen. For the past 18 months, Emily Rose has utilized an unauthorized digital diversion protocol to intercept 94% of my monthly payroll from the Apex Global Logistics Treasury. A collective gasp rippled through the chat room. The screen displayed side-by-side transaction timestamps. Every time Apex Global issued my overtime bonus of $4,000, $3,800 was instantaneously redirected into Emily Rose's offshore debit card in Mantica, within 0.04 seconds. Exhibit B, I continued. The so-called charity donations Emily streamed last month. Every single dollar was drawn from the life-saving medical fund I had saved for my mother's open-heart surgery, transferred while I was working 72-hour shifts in the logistics yard. The comments, which had been hurling abuse at me 30 seconds ago, froze completely. techbro_Dan. Wait. Look at the transaction hash. That's an illegal API. Intercept. Newswatcher. She didn't win the lottery. She was literally siphoning her co-workers' wages through a hacked corporate protocol. Lover of truth. Look at the timestamps. Charlotte was in the ER with exhaustion, while Emily was buying designer bags in Mantica. And finally, Exhibit C, I said, clicking open the third document. It was the high-definition security camera footage from Scarface's loan office. From 2 weeks ago. The video clearly showed Emily Rose's face, her distinct gait, and her electronic signature token being scanned into the system to secure the initial $10 million high-interest loan. Beside the video lay the forensic handwriting analysis from the state police forensics lab, certifying that the signature on the promissory note was legally and biologically verified as Emily Rose's personal mark. You wanted $20 million, Emily. My voice rang out cold and merciless. You spent 18 months taking everything I earned. Now every single contract you signed has come home to roost. Emily stared at the screen, her pupils shaking wildly, her mouth opening and closing like a suffocating fish. System critical alert. Host's public reputation score has dropped to 0. System backlash initiated. Karma reversal triggered. All parasitic wage harvesting abilities permanently revoked. Host's remaining life vitality will be liquidated to satisfy interest arrears on the $20,450,000 debt. A sudden, agonizing spasm seized Emily's chest. She screamed, clutching her throat as dark, oxidized blood trickled from her nostrils, staining the keyboard. Before she could cut the stream, the heavy wooden door of the internet cafe was kicked off its hinges with a splintering crash. Scarface and 4 armed men strode into the frame in front of 200,000 live viewers. Time's up, Miss Rose, Scarface growled, grabbing her by the hair and hoisting her off the chair like a sack of trash. Pack your bags. We found a buyer for your remaining contracts across the northern border. The camera was knocked to the floor, capturing only the sound of Emily's frantic, animalistic shrieks as she was dragged down the corridor into the dark. The city woke up to a seismic scandal. By morning, Apex Global Logistics had issued a public corporate apology, terminating the entire Human Resources Compliance Department and transferring $300,000 in compensatory damages directly to my account. The police opened an official criminal syndicate investigation into Emily Rose and Leo Duncan for systematic cyber theft, financial fraud, and unlawful impersonation. At noon, my mother's 6-hour coronary artery bypass surgery concluded with absolute perfection. Dr. Wright stepped out of the surgical suite, pulling off his mask with a tired but radiant smile. Miss Brown, your mother is completely stable. Her heart function has been fully restored. With proper post-operative care, she will live a long, healthy life. I bowed deeply to the medical team, tears of profound, unburdened relief finally, washing the last lingering ghosts of my past life from my soul. I walked down the hospital corridor toward the private terrace to catch the midday sun. A shadow suddenly lunged from behind the fire escape doors. Charlotte. I didn't flinch. Before the figure could get within 5 feet of me, 2 private security operatives I had hired from an elite executive protection firm stepped forward, pinning the man against the marble wall with a brutal, synchronized takedown. Leo lay face down on the floor, his nose bleeding, his clothes torn, smelling of stale alcohol and vomit. His hands were trembling violently, his eyes bloodshot, wild with the manic terror of a man whose world had collapsed into rubble. Charlotte. Please. Leo wept, clawing at the polished floorboards. Look at me. It's Leo. The loan sharks took my parents' house. My father had a stroke this morning. He's in the county ward with no insurance. The bank seized my bank accounts for that $15 million bond. I walked over slowly, looking down at him from behind the security guards. He looked smaller than I remembered. In my past life, he had loomed over me like an untouchable god, mocking my tears, sneering at my poverty, watching with cold indifference as his childhood friend pushed my mother into an early grave. Now he was nothing more than a sniveling worm groveling in the dust. Leo, I said softly. He lifted his battered face, a desperate, sickening spark of hope flaring in his bloodshot eyes. Charlotte, you still care. I know you do. We were together for 4 years. Forgive me. Tell the bank you made a mistake. Take the debt back. Do you remember what you told me when I asked you for money to save my mother? I asked, my voice carrying the weight of a funeral bell. Leo froze. His breath caught in his throat. You told me that I was born to suffer. I whispered, leaning down slightly so only he could hear. You told me that greed would kill me. You told me to learn how to be an independent woman. I straightened my spine, adjusting the cuffs of my silk blouse. Now, Leo, it's your turn to be independent. 3 weeks later, the border between the southern provinces and the lawless northern industrial Zones was a scorched expanse of red dust, barbed wire, and dense jungle. A rusted, windowless cargo truck rumbled down a dirt road, kicking up clouds of yellow dust before stopping outside a heavily fortified concrete compound. Surrounded by watchtowers and armed guards holding automatic rifles. The metal gate groaned open. The back doors of the truck swung open, and 20 chained, disheveled captives were shoved out into the blistering heat. Among them were Emily and Leo. Emily was unrecognizable. Her once flawless skin was gray, covered in scabies and open sores from the 3-week transport. Her hair had been shorn off to prevent lice, and her eyes were hollow, vacant, stripped of every ounce of arrogance. Beside her, Leo limped heavily on a fractured right leg that had been set improperly with a piece of dirty bamboo, his ribs visible beneath a threadbare gray undershirt. A tall, burly man in military fatigues, the commander of the Golden Triangle scam compound, walked down the inspection line holding a swagger stick. He stopped in front of Emily, tapping her cheek with the cold metal tip of his baton. Emily rose. The commander read from a laminated clipboard. Sold by the Southside Creditor Syndicate to settle $35 million in bad debt. Liabilities. Designated role. Tier 4 phone scammer. Daily quota. $10,000 in fraudulent wire transfers. Emily fell to her knees in the dirt, clutching the commander's combat boots, weeping hysterically. Sir, please. I have a system. I can steal money from people's accounts. Just give me a computer. I can make you millions. The commander let out a booming laugh, turning to his guards, who chuckled with cruel familiarity. Every psychotic addict who arrives here claims they have magic. The commander sneered, kicking her hands away with his steel-toed boot. If you miss your daily quota twice, we send you to the basement surgical theater. A healthy kidney is worth 40 grand on the international market. A liver is 80. You'll pay your debt back one organ at a time. He turned his gaze toward Leo. And this one? Co-signer, the guard grunted. Useless for tech work. Send him to the underground mining tunnels to haul lead ore. Leo let out a blood-curdling shriek as 2 guards dragged him backward across the gravel, his fingers clawing at the dirt, screaming Emily's name in pure, unadulterated hatred. Emily, you whore. You killed me. I hope you rot in hell. Emily sat in the dust, staring at the concrete barracks ahead, the exact same scam compound where, in another life, Charlotte Brown had spent her final agonizing months before being butchered on a rusty operating table. Now the gates closed behind her with a heavy, final thud. There was no system to save her. There was no lottery. There was only the eternal, inescapable harvest of the karma she had sown. 6 months later, the morning sun rose over the coastal hills of the capital, bathing the emerald lawns of the St. Jude Rehabilitation Gardens in warm, golden light. My mother sat on a white wrought iron bench beneath a blooming wisteria arbor, wearing a soft cashmere sweater, holding a cup of hot chamomile tea. Her cheeks were rosy, her smile serene, her eyes shining with health and peace. Charlotte, look, my mother smiled, pointing toward the harbor where white sailboats were gliding across the blue water. The air is so sweet today. It is, Mom, I said, sitting beside her, resting my head gently against her shoulder. I pulled out my phone and opened the morning news. A small, unhighlighted column in the International Police section caught my eye. Joint Task Force dismantles transnational offshore scam syndicate in northern sector. Multiple fraud suspects remanded to maximum security correctional facilities. The names Emily Rose and Leo Duncan were listed at the very bottom of the convict register, sentenced to 30 years of hard labor in the border penitentiary, their civil debts frozen into permanent, lifelong restitution judgments. I glanced at the names for 2 seconds. My pulse didn't quicken. My heart didn't ache. I felt neither anger nor triumphant glee. I felt only the vast, clean, tranquil stillness of a woman who had crossed an ocean of blood and reached the green, untainted shore on the other side. Bing. All transferred contracts have reached permanent legal resolution. The contract transfer system has completed its mission and will now permanently unbind. Wish the host a long, prosperous, and boundless life. A faint, warm chime sounded in my mind, and then the interface dissolved into golden particles of light, fading into the morning breeze. I turned off my phone, slid it into my pocket, and took my mother's warm hand in mine. The sun climbed higher into the azure sky, warming the earth, lighting the path forward into a future that belonged, wholly and beautifully, to us.